Hey, what is happening, Miles? Big idea, man. How you doing?
Hello, hello. I am awake and here.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, let's start off by saying congratulations, Miles. You are once again a new father.
Yes,
Uh,
thank you.
tell us a little bit about the new baby and how's your wife doing?
Your baby's awesome. He's a lot of fun. He sleeps a lot during the day, not at night, which is why I said hey, I'm awake. It's been a lot of late nights, but it's
Yeah,
fun. It's just that it's interesting the second time around with a 3-year-old running around, sort of wreaking
right.
havoc while also having a newborn. But just adjusting to the new normal, and my wife's doing great. She's a trooper. Anybody that has ever, been alongside a woman in the childbirth process, I feel like you have a whole new respect for women. I feel like us
Yeah.
guys are so weak compared to women. I don't think we could do what they do through that whole process. So a lot of
No.
respect for the moms out there.
Hey, listen, my wife can pick up pan that's hotter than I can't, listen, women are tougher than guys all the way
Yeah,
around. I don't care what anybody says. And I'm not messing with my wife, just like I wouldn't mess with this person we're going to have on today, Gigi Stetler. I mean, this is going to be a fun show, right?
yeah, she is. It's like where to begin with her story, right? We'll let her tell it, but we could probably have her on here 8 different times and still not cover everything she has to offer to the audience.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. So, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We already have good old George Ryman and some people from joining us from Phoenix. So this is going to be great. All right, Miles, listen, you know what we do here, Miles?
What do we do, Dave? Tell me.
At Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better and doing it better. Our guests include topics in building systems, to building science, to building codes, to building text, to building your influence, and why you need to keep driving and fighting the hard fight, why you should be using social media, why you should be using LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and all the other social platforms that are out there to grow your influence and to do it scared. What do you think about that, Miles?
I love it. I'm all in.
All in. All right. So we got only about an hour show today. So I think we need to jump into this. Today we are going to have Gigi Stetler on. She is the owner of Planet RV in Florida. Gigi has a story like no other, and I'm going to let her get into it, but she runs a multi-million-dollar business. She has had ups and downs in her business and her personal life like no other. So when we jump into this today, I think it's going to surprise a lot of people, but I also think it's going to be a huge inspiration for a lot of people, and that includes myself.
Yeah, totally agree. Bring her in.
So, let's bring her in. You sure?
Let's do it.
All right. Love it. Hey, Gigi, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you? Oh, there I am.
Yeah, no, we'll fix it. Hey, we got it all under control in this end. Gigi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And Miles, I just want to say I will take that compliment about
you're welcome.
I am a single mom, and I will take that compliment because if it was not for us, there would be a very small amount of people here.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. So to give some background on why Gigi Stetler is on our show, as everybody knows, we are gearing up for our road show to hit the road. See the ticker below. And we start shopping for our home on wheels, so to speak, so we can travel this country and bring all the great content to everybody. Well, we ran into Gigi and we learned that Gigi is the only female RV dealer in the country. Yeah, I said that. The only one in the country, right? Starting to feel a little bit like the construction world was, right? Starting to go the other way. And 2, she's also an author. She's also a life coach. She also has other programs out there for the RV industry. And you'd be very surprised. The RV industry is very similar to the modular industry or the manufacturing industry and the way it thinks and the processes. But Gigi, you also have a story where you were stabbed 20 times, strangled, and left for dead. And that's, and you recovered from this as well. So why don't we take a moment, Gigi, and please tell everything about you from the moment you were born. And I don't expect you really to do that. So let's just, from the moment you were born to this very moment in time, give us your elevator pitch. What would you tell somebody when they first met you about who you are?
Well, I don't think I can tell my entire story on an elevator pitch, but I will. And I sort of put life in perspective, which I almost lost mine. And I back in the early 90s, I bought an apartment building, early 80s, I'm sorry, bought an apartment building down in South Beach where we were just, South Beach was becoming the new Art Deco district. And I went doing the walkthrough at the closing after I was doing the walkthrough in the building, and there was a homeless man sleeping in the basement. So, of course, my nature, I felt sorry for him. So I offered him a apartment in exchange for painting, because he said that he was that was his skill. And anyway, so that worked out well for the first couple of months. And then he was drunk one day, and I had I had a manager there, a girl that she was running the building and renting. Every time we painted an apartment, we would rent it. And anyway, she called me hysterical, and she said that he was throwing beer bottles off the roof at cars driving by. And I'm thinking, okay, let me go and talk to him, even though he didn't speak a word of English. Said, let me go, try to, I didn't want, I didn't want her to call the police because he'd probably be arrested. Let me go see if I can talk him into it, talk him down. So I did. And I got there. He wasn't listening to me. He was angry and crazy and just, so I went into the apartment to use the phone to call 911, and I was on hold, waiting for, I don't know, I guess them to, it took forever to get the right person on the phone. But anyway, I called 911, and as I was on the phone, he barged in the room, the apartment, and he attacked me. And at first, I didn't know that I was stabbed. He attacked me, and he was on top of me, and I still had the phone, and the phone fell down, and I can hear the police officers yelling and saying, hello, what's going on over there? And I'm screaming. And I think after about the third or fourth blow, I just blood pouring out of my chest, and that's when I realized that he had a knife. So at first I thought he just punched me, and I grabbed the knife, and I was holding it to lessen the blow of, he was trying to kill me, and he was stabbing me in the chest. And every time he would stab me, he was carving into my fingers and was sawing them off on my left hand. So we struggled forth. I probably weighed maybe 95 pounds soaking wet at that time, maybe 100. And he wasn't a big guy, but he was bigger than me. And you can't believe the inner strength that you get sometimes, like when your adrenaline is going. And at some point I wrestled the knife away from him somehow. And I remember him reaching over and grabbing the electric cord of the air conditioner plug that was plugged in, and he unplugged it, and he wrapped it around my neck and tried to choke me. So he managed to get the knife back away from me and stab me a few more times. And I either went in, I died, or I thought I died, or pretended I was dead. I don't really know. I blacked out. And I woke up in the hospital in the emergency room, and the doctor the surgeon was having to sew my fingers back on my left hand. And I remember after the trauma ward and all that, I was kind of in and out of it. And the next morning I woke up, and I remember the doctor coming in, and he sits on my bed, and I had so much nerve damage. I was stabbed 21 times, and I had so much nerve damage in my left arm that they didn't think, because the knife had gone from one end and it came out the other side of my elbow and stuff. So anyway, the doctor, he says to me, he sits down, he says, Gigi, I'm really sorry. He says, I don't think that I could save your left arm. I I'm not sure. I said, I did surgery on it. I did the best I can. You have over 200 stitches and you have severe nerve damage, and you may lose your left arm below your elbow. And I looked at him and I said, are you kidding me? I'm alive. Do I care about my left arm? Seriously? I was like, am I alive? I'm like, I'm alive. I am alive. It was like, at many moments I wasn't sure I was alive, but I just, anyway. So, with that said, in life, I have put so many things into perspective. I was 23 years old, I think, when that happened. And, I had so many other trials and tribulations, I started really young, hustling. Right. That's why when I saw your sign that said hustle, I was 11 when I had my first job, and I was hustling. I always wanted to, I think the only thing that makes, you got to have a passion, or you got to have a goal. You got to have something, in life to build and to grow and to move into or whatever. So, and I think where I started, where I got my foundation of hustle, my father was a millionaire. My father was very wealthy, and my parents divorced at an early age, and my father rejected me. He hated me. I looked like my mother, and he wanted nothing to do with me. And I did everything to please him. And we would have our visitation every other weekend thing where we'd go to see my father. And my brother was 11 months older than me, and my brother could do no wrong. My brother was he was everything to my father, and my father owned a pickle company. So we'd go to the pickle factory, and I'd have to sit in the office while he would parade my brother around the factory and show him off to everybody and this and that. And I would just sit in the office by myself. And I became the best waiting daughter that you can ever imagine. And then, he'd take us we had a cabana at the Fontainebleau, and he'd show off my brother, and he would always, dress my brother well. So we'd go shopping, and he'd buy my brother all his clothes, and I would get his hand-me-down clothes. So I would wear my brother's clothes. But then my mother, she didn't want to buy me any clothes because she wanted to let my father know that I spent my whole young years watching them fight for child support, back and forth. So my mother would make me clothes from Kmart patterns and sew them, and I would look like a clown going to school. So at 11, I had this obsession, actually, since I was 2, horses. My mother put me on a horse pony when I was 2, and I was like, I just want horses. Right. And there were horses across the street from us. There was a ranch. So, and I rode up on my little candy sales bicycle, because I always win the #1 sales, and I would win a bicycle every year. Otherwise I'd be walking to school. So I would ride my little candy sales bicycle to the ranch, and finally I had the courage to ask the ranch owner if I could ride one of the horses. And picture this guy with a cowboy hat and old big white hair and old mustache and everything. And I said,
like Miles. He looks like Miles.
Yeah, a little more hair than Miles. And I remember I'd say, Mr. Earl, can I ride one of those horses over there? And he'd look at me and say, you got $25, little girl? I said, no, I want $25. I said, well, come back when you got $25. You want to ride one of these horses? 3 days I rode back to I said, maybe he's in a better mood. I'd rode my bicycle again, and I'd say, please, can I ride one of those horses? You got $25? No. So by day 3, I said, I went back and I was like, what do I got to do to ride one of these horses? Please, I want to ride one. You know how to clean stalls? I said, no, but I could learn. And he said, all right, go over there and clean all those stalls.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you ride this horse. Gave me 25 stalls to clean. So I did it. By the time I did my 25 stalls, my curfew was up and I had to go home. I didn't get to ride. So for 3 days, I cleaned 25 stalls and couldn't get it done, but I had to do it right. By the 4th day, he felt sorry for me, and he finally let me ride the horse first. And I rode, and it was like magic. The horse was old, lame, limping, but I didn't know. It was majestic to me. And I think from that day on, I was like, I want horses. I need horses in my life. I mean, I just, the connection and a bond between you and a horse, when you can get a horse weighs 1,000, 1,500 pounds and you weigh nothing, and to get on it and control it, but not control it by strength, but control it by feeling and feel in your mind and all that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
There's a whole lot to unpack just in that conversations, right?
You asked me.
Yeah, well, there is, and we haven't even gotten to the RV dealership yet, right? So,
that's about 50 companies later.
I know. Well, you know what? And Gigi, I don't even know if you have one in front of you, but you also have a book. So if people really want to get into the true nuts and bolts of every detail, they have that. You have that as well because you're an author. But that going back, that story. Well, one, let me take a step back. One, the story about you helping somebody out, and then you end up, being stabbed and in the hospital, so brutally. It shows where your heart is, especially after the hardship, right? With your dad and all these things. This is the whole, brushing yourself off and kind of giving the world the finger and saying, well, I'm not quitting. I'm going to keep doing it and going at it. And I heard that in the first story. And then I heard it, in the story about your dad and your brother and kind of sitting on the back burner because, there's a lot of that even in the construction industry. I think less today than there used to be, but it's still pretty prevalent out there, where it's very male dominated. And Miles and I always say we need more women in our industry because it will go further, faster. And then the whole story of going and keep going back to the rancher, right? and that happening. Well, you know what? That just shows a testament to, the strength that you have inside and who you are as a person, and this is really where Miles, you should jump in because this is, I know in that shaved head of yours, you got something happening. I can see by looking at you.
Well, never giving up. That's why I'm still here today, because I didn't give up. I didn't give up the fight, while I was being stabbed. I didn't give up the fight with my father, which I ended up in a sort of a relationship, and I didn't give up riding that horse, and every other thing that's happened to me in life, so.
That's right. That's why I'm not messing with you.
Even though you're not buying your RV for me.
Well,
that's a whole other story.
We haven't gotten that far yet. So,
No.
Go ahead, Miles.
Well, you said a phrase in the midst of all that. You said inner strength, which I think, kind of like what Dave said, rang true a couple times. But when it comes to inner strength, this idea that we have on the show of increasing influence, how do you think your personal inner strength has allowed you to help influence others, be it personal life with coaching and things you do, or in the RV business? How do you think that inner strength transitions out of you and into the world?
Well,
great question.
One thing that I've always, people have asked me, okay, a homeless man stabbed me, so I'm sure you don't, talk to homeless people anymore. And that's not true. I will help the next homeless guy and the next one and the next one and the next one. It's not gonna define me. So, so going back to what we had talked about earlier, I don't take it personally. So I can't, there are good homeless people out there. I'm sure I've hired many of them, so, I believe in second chances and whatever. But, so that I think when because that's the first question people ask, like, or if, I had a bad business relationship with somebody, does that stop me from doing business with, that kind of person, or a blonde person, or, you got to put all that stuff, away and just have your inner strength and know what you believe in and know, and, I trust, but verify, there's just, there's some ways to go, but it all boils down to your inner strength and how strong you are, and stay focused and keep that hustle going. And with my hustle, what I've always said with my hustle, is like climbing Mount Everest. I've always used this as a metaphor when I'm speaking or coaching or whatever. And, if you don't reach for the stars, you're not going to get there. So you reach beyond the stars. And so with climbing Mount Everest, let's say it's 12,000 feet, and, I'm going to climb it. I'm going to climb it, and I'm going to get up, and I get 3,000, 4,000 feet, and I fall. down again. Okay, let me climb again. And this time I get to 6,000 feet. Yeah, kaboom. Let me try get up again. And it success is not measured on how much money you have in the bank. It's when you fall, it's how fast you get up and go again. That's the measurement of success. It has nothing to do with what you have today. I don't measure success like that. It's, you're going to fail. Everybody fails. You can't be afraid of failure. If you're afraid of failure, you will never succeed, ever. It's like riding that bicycle. When you fell off the bicycle, if you don't get back on the bicycle, you're never going to learn to ride a bicycle. So, because you'll fail. Everybody fails. But failure is not a measure of success. It's actually the only way to improve. So back to that metaphor is when I have fallen probably in my lifetime, maybe 60 times off that mountain. And I've gotten about 8,000, 8,500 feet, like almost to like, and I'm like, some people would say, what, the view's not so bad here. It's comfortable. Let me just stay comfortable. I don't want to fall again and start all over. So I'm just going to stay at 8,500 feet. You just settled and you broke your goal. That's not good enough. You've got to get to 10. And you know what? When I get to 10, which I've been to 10, I need to go to 12. It's never high enough. And when you tell somebody to, how high you want to go and how high you want to be, and you have your hand up, if you're not standing on the chair or the highest thing in the room, so you can be taller and higher, so you have a bigger goal, you're not achieving what you really need to do. And that, to me, you got to keep it and hold it inside of you. You got to burn like fire,
Yeah. So, and going back to what Miles was saying as well, and increasing, how you increase your influence on the people around you, because one of the things that impressed me the most, and I know we haven't gotten into the whole RV side of this yet, was the level of support that we saw from the people that you work with. I never say employees. I always say team members or people you work with. Even your son, your son was there and we got to meet him. And they were cooking. Your team was cooking you lunch that day.
Yeah.
Right.
I buy every Friday, and then once a month they do a potluck.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, so I think, you take kind of this whole conversation of picking yourself back up, climbing Mount Everest, falling off 60 times. The view is always going to be better at the summit. That's why people push so hard, even if you run out of oxygen. Right. So how are you influencing all of these people? Because you're right. You have people that have autism that work for you. You have people that maybe have some not so good backgrounds that other people wouldn't hire because you give them second chances. You have, like you said, you'd let the homeless people back in, and all these people you've surrounded yourself by a lot of people that are just, I think, very grateful. And I think you're an inspiration to them because of your story. And I think you also aren't afraid to get your hands dirty.
No, I'm definitely not afraid to get my hands dirty, but I can tell you, everyone that you met, every single person at my staff are all on second chances. And a lot of them came with no skill. Yep. Some of them were very young, and we learned together, and some of my staff have been here 15, 18 years. But I think that it's a whole different world out there, and a different climate, as far as, hiring staff and building a team and things like that. It's not the same. It's just not, you gotta build your team, take them from the ground up, and so many people need another chance. I myself, I've given myself second chances, but I don't think I don't think I would probably have been hireable, but I spent some time in jail, and for a crazy story, which, you'll get it when you read the book, and another old story, but who's gonna, I'm thinking, who's gonna hire me? But I was never built in this world. I don't even have a 10th grade education. So I'm probably not hireable, which I don't think I ever went down that path of being hireable. I always knew that I had to be my own boss, but I give people legs. There are people that come, that hire me, and they're way too good, for this job. They've got so much more potential. So I give them legs, mostly women. I bring women in, they're coming through a bad divorce or abusive divorce or, whatever situation. And I give them legs. I give them housing, a job, whatever. And I give them legs so that they can grow and find their strength and go out on their own. And I've turned out so many good women. It makes me proud. So many good women that have gone from, like I said, abusive relations to running big companies in New York, starting their own careers, whatever. And, and now happily married with a new family on their terms, just things like that. So that's kind of my goal and my mission. And, it makes me feel so good,
Yeah, for sure it does. Go ahead, Miles.
Well, this is a good pivot into the RVs. I want to dive into that. There's a whole nother story there. We're already half an hour in. So when it comes to RVs, like Dave said, you're the only female-owned RV shop in the country. Two-parter here. How'd you get started in the RV business, right? And then why don't you give us then, after you got started, let's dive into the overall the crazy story that Dave and I know about, but the audience doesn't know about yet, and then that brings us to today that we can talk about. So how do you get started, and then the whole mess of a story that's waiting to surface here? It
started as an accident. It was not. I actually was not supposed to be in the RV business. So back from right after I got stabbed, I was working for a friend of mine, which actually you might have met, Dave, here, Sammy, the older gentleman, Sammy. He actually owned half Miami Beach back then, all the hotels. And I was in between jobs. I was coming back from New York to move back here. And he needed some help getting his hotel sold and managing whatever. So I became general manager of his hotels. I was like 22, 23. And but we were best friends. We partied like rock stars back in the day. We were it. No one, this town did not move without myself and Sammy when I was, in my younger, very fun days. So anyway, I kind of got all the hotels sold and basically sold myself out of a job. And my friend, somebody that my mother was dating at the time, which he was an amazing guy that I used to call Daddy as a joke, because he kind of, he taught me a lot, and he was just smart. And so he bought a piece of property, and because I had gotten him involved in some of the hotel deals that I was closing, and I made some real estate deals with him. And so he bought this property, and he says, it has these RVs on it, and we need to get, can you go and get them sold, and, so that we can develop the property? I want to make a shopping center out of it. So I didn't even know what the word RV stood for. And of course we didn't have Google back then, so I had no idea. And I used to see these signs in the shopping centers, no RV parking. No idea what that stood for. But anyway, so I show up, and there were like little houses on wheels. I said, wow, these are so cool. And actually at that time, they were not RVs that you know of right now, like motorhomes and stuff. They were manufactured housing. They were actually park models and mobile homes, which is more in the manufactured housing.
Yeah.
So that's what they were. And I was supposed to just sell them. And he had bought the real estate, but it was actually a dealer that was going under, and he bought the dealership just to get rid of the inventory. So next thing I know, I'm selling them, and then people were ordering, and then wanting me to take orders and service and trade-ins and this and that. And the next thing I know, 30 days later, I'm in the RV business. So that's kind of how it started. And I'll never forget the first dealer meeting. So I'm 24 years old now, and I'm like always been like the top fashion guru. And here I am with my stilettos, my ponytail, and my mini skirt. And I show up at the dealer meeting, and it's literally a big table full of fat cat, good old boy, cigar smoking, scotch drinking meeting. Okay. So I show up, and they're all talking nothing about RVs. They're talking to girls and this and that, and just what guys do. Okay. So, I'm there for like 15 minutes, and no one's really even acknowledged me. And then they start talking about the hours. I don't know. They wanted to all start closing on Saturdays from now on. because they were already closed on Sunday, or they were closed Saturday now. They don't want to work that hard. So it was kind of set up. There were 35 dealers on the street, and it was kind of set up like Monopoly. Like, if you want to buy this product, you want to buy Allegro, you got to go to that dealer. You want to buy this, and they kind of price fix everything. So it was really interesting. So anyway, they started talking about hours, and I said, no, that's a terrible idea. We got to be open on weekends because the customers are, they work during the week. The buyers work during the week. And at the time, back in the 80s, the majority of the RVers were 65 plus. So most of them not having jobs. But anyway, I didn't know about those customers. So I'm just thinking, myself, I'm a consumer, I work during the week, whatever. So they looked at me like, that I had an opinion. And I guess the president at the time, he looked at me and he's like, little girl, you need to go home and bake cookies. This place is no place for you. You don't belong here.
Wow.
And so I was like, nobody's ever said that to me before. I've had probably, 12 companies by this point in my life. And and I know, as a woman, I've always worked twice as hard to get half as much, but, nobody's ever actually like come right out and said that to me, for that little opinion. So anyway, so for the next 3 months, we had dealer meeting every month, which was kind of like mandatory for the association. And for the next 3 months, they would, tell me, oh, it's 1 o'clock on this day or whatever. And I'd show up for the dealer meeting. Oh, we had that an hour ago. You're late. Oh, you didn't get the memo. And then the next month they changed the date and this. So by the third month, I realized, okay, they're not playing ball with me. So I went off and I did my own thing. And I worked 7 days a week. 14-hour days I was open, and one by one I just started taking customers from them where they actually had to start working. And and I would lower my price. I was the cheapest, and I would get competing products in, and all of a sudden people were listening to me, and manufacturers were bringing product, and I was undercutting everybody. And and so they either, through the years, by 2005 there were only a few dealers left, and I either bought them out or they retired. And so I had pretty much territory from West Palm to the Keys.
Wow.
By 2005. So that's how it started.
Yeah, for sure. And that was 2005. And then... well,
I started in 86, and 05 is about when I finished off the rest of the dealers in my territory.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't end there. Then there was a point in your life where, the business and your growth, started going the other way financially for you.
Yes, not by my count, but so I built a huge empire. I had at some point I had 4 large locations, 16 satellite locations. I had found a niche into the equestrian market, so it was a great concept for me because I do all the housing now for the equestrian. So it's an excuse that I could actually go to a horse show, I can compete, and I could work and have a display and sell product, and people did business with people in the industry, and it was great. So that worked super. So by 2008, actually the end of 2007, I had just grossed a bit over $20 million in sales that year. I went from, when we started, like $300,000 and we were on fire. And then first quarter of 08, the market was kind of shrinking, and I didn't know that the industry or that people were suffering, and then business was down for other dealers because I was on fire. First quarter of 08, I was up $1 million in sales, and then I got a phone call one day in mid-March, and I was actually in the process of building a $10 million facility to move all of my locations into one location. And I got a phone call from Marcus Lemonis, the CEO of Camping World and the star host of the CNBC The Profit Show. So he called me out of the blue sky. I've never talked to that man in my life. And he called, and we're chit-chatting, and he wanted to buy my dealership. And I said, no, thank you. I politely, whatever. And we did some more chit-chatting, and I was, no intentions of selling. So that, we ended, politely hung up, and that was that. So about 2 months later, I get a shipment in of RVs. I had just sold to all my horse show friends, like $2.5 million worth of product, brand new motorhome, 11 of them to be exact, and all can deliver to the horse show in Kentucky. All 11 of them came in with some kind of strange damage, like check engine lights on and the drive lights missing and it's on, and fan belts swinging in the breeze, like just all kind of weirdness that never happened. So I'm calling the factory. I mean, these things have to get delivered right away, and I'm calling the factory. Help me. These are warranted. They're brand new. I couldn't get Freightliner on the phone. I couldn't get Fleet on the phone. I couldn't get anybody on the phone. The first call I get is Marcus. So he calls. And he calls me up and he says, so I hear you're having trouble with Freightliner and Fleetwood. I have connections. I can help you. But that's kind of odd. Like, how my factory rep's not calling me and this guy's calling me. How is that possible? Okay. No, thank you. I got it. I fixed everybody out of pocket. I didn't wait for warranty. I fixed everybody out of pocket because it's my reputation. This is customers. I got everybody fixed. Flew to Kentucky, got everybody happy. Everything was great. Bought parts. I spent a few $100,000 doing that. I fly back from Kentucky, have a FedEx envelope on my desk, and open it up. I have a default letter from GE, and for $2.9 million, I'm in default. So I'm like, that's not possible. So I pick up the phone to dial my rep at GE. Before I can even get them on the phone, Marcus calls me. So I hear you're having trouble with your finance company. I've got connections. I can help you. So I'm like, scratching my head, like, how does he know these things, So, okay, that's that. And no, thank you. I got it. I get on the phone with GE and we're working out their botched audit. They made a mistake. I get the email and we're 3 months we spend fixing their botched audit. It was, all these mistakes, all these apologies. Sorry, forbearance is coming. Da 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 da. September 11th, I sitting at my desk, just came back from the Hamptons, 9/11 day, and a man came in the office and asked for me by name. I'm thinking, oh, it's a customer, whatever. So anyway, he serves me with papers, and I know my 10th grade education, no, not even a 10th grade education, but when I see the top line that says writ of replevant, I know what that means, that they're going to come and take all my inventory away. And so 11, look out the window now, 11 sheriffs showing up at about 16 trucks, and they locked me in a room and they took every single thing I own from all my locations, files, books, parts, tools, this, that, everything. My Porsche got towed away, like everything. And I was locked in the room anyway. So, but 3 days later, like took them 3 days to basically leave me with a dust at all my locations. And of course, who's my first phone call? Marcus. So he calls and he says, well, you have no inventory, no money, and no financing, and no credit anymore. Come work for me. I have a nice desk for you. So I said, no, thank you, Marcus. You're going to have to take me out of here on a stretcher. I'm not leaving. And I hung up on him. And he went from there to a bad mission. He had every government agency here trying to shut me down. And he took all my staff. He took a lot of my employees jumped ship. So he took my staff. He took my inventory. Oh, my inventory anyway, by the way, ended up from GE, ended up in Campton World hands. And he took his, so
I mean, the big business, right? If I can't buy you out of business, I'm going to put you out of business is what I'm hearing. And that's kind of,
but
what you're hearing, Miles?
Day.
Yeah. And it happens a lot. You're absolutely right. It does happen a lot. I mean, this is how big businesses can control their market.
Walmart and that's but I did the one thing that I was going to say. If I knew then what I know now, and the one thing, and I'm going to tell your audience is, what happened at that point in time. That GE was my finance company. I owe them I had about $6.6 million in inventory. Camping World had $350 million in inventory. So, gee, who are they going to protect? You
Right.
know, if Camping World said, you know what, take her inventory or, lose my account. So they protected their own economic interest is what they did. And, so the moral of the story and what I wanted to tell you is, be too big to fail. If I knew then,
I like
I
that.
would have owed more money, but you think today in today's world, oh, the less I owe, the less I owe, the more, the better they're going to treat you. Negative, so you want to do big business, you better owe a lot, keep your cash and owe a lot, be too big to fail, because that's exactly what happened. And, I was not big. I was like,
Yeah.
lunch meat, for them, $6.5 million to write off that account, but, at the end I ended up, suing GE, which I just recently prevailed.
Oh,
It
good.
took me 11 years.
So, all right. So, I mean, but that's kind of the story here, right? So you went through this hardship, you went through, losing everything again. But now you're back, right? This is what's interesting about this.
I never left.
Well, right.
I never left. People say that to me and I correct them because there's a difference. You go, you hide your head in the sand, you put the blanket over your head and you take a break and this and that. I never, ever, ever left.
Right.
I always, I might just see my, like I always had a vision, and I might have, I had to look at it, through a telescope, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing, but I needed a telescope, but I saw it. It was there and I never took my eye off of it. And I was $11.5 million in debt at the end of that when they took everything, because I owed people money. I owed so much money. It was anyway, but I never left. I just quietly worked in the background, rebuilding my company. Because the one thing that people can't take from you, is your passion. And it didn't matter what I said. Okay, you took Fleetwood away from me. I'll go get something else. And you'll always have to have A, B, C, D as plans.
Right.
Always. And what I did, and it actually, it was almost a relief. Okay, you know what? Things happen for a reason. GE just took that $6.5 million of inventory from me. 3 months later, Fleetwood filed bankruptcy. Do you know how lucky I was at the end of the day? Because I'd have been left with all this inventory with a bankrupt manufacturer. So, okay, that happened. So now people, when the economy crashed, there were all these people that I sold RVs to. They couldn't make their payments. So what did I do? I brought all that inventory in on consignment. Now I got free inventory. I'm not going to spend, $1 million a year in interest payments right now. I got free inventory. I put their units in my rental fleet because I lost my rental fleet, and I made the payments for them. So I saved their credit. I saved their RVs. And that's how I was able to build myself back up with inventory. And I've been chipping away at it every day, So I'm pretty close to debt free, back on the map. I'm staying small and I'm staying off the radar. I don't need to be big. I don't want to be a moving target. I don't brag about, how much money I'm making or any of that. It's nobody's business. I'm comfortable, but like I said, my story is just to never give up. Don't take your eye off the goal. You need a telescope.
Yeah. Go ahead, Miles.
Well, it might sound silly, but I was going to ask why, right? Like, why didn't you give up? $11.5 million in debt is a lot of debt. I think most people would just say, okay, well, it's called a day. I will declare bankruptcy and I'll go sell, anything other than RVs.
Because that's a quitter.
Okay.
That's a quitter.
So day one, this happens. Day two, you're looking at the dust on your, showroom floors. What was the conversation you're having yourself? Was it just, I'm not going to be a quitter and I'm going to figure it out? Or, walk us through that mental game I'm sure you played with yourself.
I think, well, my son was in private school at the time. He was, I want to say seventh grade, I think, maybe going into eighth. And, at the time of school is, I think, $25,000, $30,000 a year, or whatever. And I was on the quarter payments and I couldn't make his payments for school, And then I kind of just looked around at my staff and I actually have to tell you from my staff's perspective, one of my key people, Greg Vokes, who just recently passed. But he was like my best friend, and I only about four or five people stayed. Everyone else jumped ship because they didn't, they just, they went with, got offers from them, and my 4 or 5 loyal people that stayed with me. But I remember Greg. There was somebody else that was working in my New York location and actually surrendering the inventory to GE, and this person was calling Greg, and while the process was going on, and he was saying, "How is she? How is she? Has she collapsed yet? Has she had a nervous breakdown yet?" And Greg would say, "Actually, no. I don't get it. Everybody else is falling apart. We're all crying. We're a mess, and I don't get it. She's fine. She's fine." And then more stuff would happen, and more stuff would happen. And that guy actually, who was calling, ended up working for Marcus Lemonis, okay, and Camping World, and took my inventory. So he was probably part of it the whole time, but he kept calling and trying to find out if I've crashed yet mentally, if I've jumped off the bridge, if I drove my car into the river. And Greg kept saying, "I don't get it, but she's fine." My staff was crying, and I'm a leader. So what made me do it, I looked at the eyes of my staff that were relying on me to guide that ship back to shore as the captain of the ship. And that's why I did. And I looked at my son, who I can't pay for school, had to come work for me, had to come to the office to answer phones that we couldn't even afford. Okay. Right. So there were times when I couldn't pay FPL, the electric company, because we were on a cash only basis, because I would write checks and I would tell people, I can't promise they're good. If you're the first one that gets to the bank, you make it, you win. I can't promise they're good. And we'd bounce checks on FPL, and they'd come with the big, lock and chain, and, to lock the power up. They'd ask me for cash. And I'm like, I don't have it today. They'd come and cut the power. Yeah. So we'd grab a customer's motorhome and hook up the generator and plug in the phone system, because all you need is phones. So our phone system is plugged into the generator. And people would come in, and it's like, "Oh, is there something?" I said, "Yeah, they cut the poles down, whatever." We never tell people that we can't pay the electric bill, but we had phones. So I would have Jared would have to answer the phones, and and he would have to do online schooling because I couldn't pay for school. They kept his transcript, so that was a whole other debacle. But I looked in the eyes of my staff and was like, I can't let them down. So I think that they gave me the strength to to go, and looking back, it's like, okay, you know what, if I had filed bankruptcy, the millions of dollars, the 11 million that I had to pay back and all that, that'd be in my pocket right now.
Right.
But I think that's not who I am.
Well, it's picking yourself up. I mean, if you think about your past and your history, I know, like, I'm luckily have not been stabbed, and I don't want to be. But I can say, when I get down, I just think about some of my work, like being in the military and overseas and Desert Storm, and you see the things that you see. And I was a rescue worker at the trade centers. I was there when they came down, and I was there during the whole thing. And why I say that is not I say it because I can mentally get myself to a better place, because I know it can be worse.
It's better than the alternative, and that's the key.
That's exactly it. Right? I always know it can be worse. And Jennifer and I have that conversation. I'm just one of these people where it may get me for a minute, and then I go,
"Yep,
well, I don't have sand in my food, and I didn't, my buddy didn't just get shot, and so exactly. Perspective is different. You can really visualize, and I think that's kind of what makes people who they are and how they become stronger. And the whole will to survive by taking the generator from the RV so your phone lines can work, so you don't give up on all the employees, so you can make the money to pay the bills and pay the rent and pay the salaries. I mean, that's somebody told me once, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better be prepared to bleed.
Oh, right? Yeah, you're going to bleed.
It's not a straight line. It's like the 2008 economy. It goes like this and like this and like this. Miles, you've been quiet.
Just soaking it all in. I was going to say the word you said, Dave, about perspective, and that's what it sounds like. And I love what you said, Gigi, about, you're a leader. And so all these people, instead of focusing on yourself and like, woe is me, you were looking at all the people that were looking to you and focused on that instead of, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Or what might happen or could happen. You just got to work on what you could control and got creative. There's so many different creative stories that you share with us. Like, the phone and the generators is the most recent one. So
I love a lot of those crazy things.
Yeah, you personify.
Imagine if we drink wine with her, what would come out? Oh my god!
Oh god!
It's funny, Gigi. Just so you know, I've seen the inside of a police car in a jail cell once or twice in my life, but I was only I was detained for my own safety, as they told me. I got clearly bar fights while you're in the military don't go well with the MPs, but I know there's so much to unpack there, and there's so much to learn from it. And Miles, I agree with you. We could probably just pick one of these times in your life and really break it down. We only have a few more minutes here, so one of the things I wanted to do. So you got the RV dealership, and you guys are killing it at Planet RV down in Daniels, Florida. Right? I want to say Fort Lauderdale, but Davies, Florida. And so you have that running. You have this awesome staff who we got to meet. You have family that works there, but you're also doing more. You actually have RV advisors now, where you're doing this whole online community for the RV world. Once again, you're trying to build community and help people out and provide services to help people out. And you yourself are also very big on social media, YouTube, and those things. Tell us the importance of those couple things, and then we'll wrap it up.
I founded the RV Advisor. Actually, there was such a need because being in the horse show community, everybody knows, RVs and Gigi. That's just, so I have friends calling me, I'm going to be competing in California. Can you recommend a dealer for me to go, buy an RV? And every time I'd recommend somebody or service or this or that, it was horrible. So of course they come back to me, so I couldn't recommend anybody because no dealers and no manufacturers want to be held accountable for anything. Right. The industry is lacking that customer service from day one. From my 35 years in this business, it's always been a hole. So I figured, you know what, I need to find a solution, So I founded the RV Advisor to basically be an advocate for consumers so that, and guide them in how to buy an RV, where to buy an RV. So I wanted it to be like Angie's List. Angie's List started, she was a paid membership, and then she would recommend contractors because there were so many unscrupulous contractors here in South Florida. So that was kind of the way I thought it would be. Okay, people would, immediately buy memberships, and then I'm going to get dealer certified. I'm going to make, and I'm going to vet them, and then I'm going to send them all this business. It's a non-biased platform. I wear two separate hats. If you came to me as an RV Advisor member, I would not be trying to sell you an RV. That's not what we do, So anyway, as I'm trying to vet these dealers, nobody wanted to be certified. They can't be certified because they don't want to care. They don't want to be accountable. So I'm like, great. I got 0 certified dealers. Okay. So now we've got to go the other way. It's strength in numbers. Now I need to have so many members. Can you imagine if I have 1 million members? I think they're going to listen to us, So I'm building steam. Okay. I'm making these dealers start to be afraid of me. And I know exactly how the game runs, from manufacturing to insurance to warranties to everything. So you look out for me because I know what you should be doing and what a contract's supposed to look like and what you need to look at in this contract before you sign it, So we're gaining, speed, and dealers are starting to respect me. And I'm starting, when people hire me, I have a service called GPS, Gigi's Personal Service. So if you hire me, and that's for members only, I will guide you all the way through. And now the salespeople and the managers or whatever, the dealerships are actually calling me. They're not certified yet, but I say, listen, I want to make sure this unit is sealed. I want to make sure this. I want to make sure that. I want to FaceTime. I want this. I want to look at the contract. You've got to remove that from the contract. This. And I'm getting, we're getting respect now. So I've helped a lot of buyers, and I've got some out of contracts, and I've settled a couple of settlements. I've helped navigate some consumers out of some very bad situations. So we're gaining strength. And that's the new mission.
Well, and that's kind of what we're talking too, right? That's just how we met, because you and your team went way out of the way. Miles, I walked into some of these RV, and this is just to verify and why I felt the story was so interesting. And literally, you want to walk in, you want to spend a lot of money on one of these things. They wouldn't even get out of their chair.
Huh.
And I'd say, well, do you have the specs on that? They're like that. I go, nah, we haven't got it. I don't have that paper in front of me. Well,
They don't.
Can you
They
get
don't
it?
need to care. They
'Cause
don't need
I'm
to
not
care
buying
right now.
something. Yeah, it's weird.
They don't
It
care.
really is weird.
If you don't buy it, someone else will. They don't care. They're selling them off the internet like hotcakes.
Yeah.
RVs are flying off the shelves, so nobody has to be accountable. The dealers don't care. If you don't like it, someone else will buy it. I'm going
right.
to keep your deposit anyway. Just absolutely horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, it was until I went and to your world, and it was a whole different experience. So, Gigi, I'm so happy that we got to meet, and I'm so happy that we got to share your story today. Can you believe it's been an hour already? It's a fast hour, right?
It's only a few days of my life. So
We're only we're through the first week of the
Yeah, seriously.
for the first week of your 24 years of living, right? I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Miles, why don't you take us out today?
I'm still processing all these stories, Dave. I don't know how I'm going to take it out. I'm coming up with follow-up questions for the next 2 hours of this conversation. I'll just say, Gigi, thank you. I'm going to go check out your books. I feel like it's all in there. I encourage everybody else to do the same. You can check it out on our website. I'm looking at it right now. And just really appreciate your time today, all that you continue to do, and all that you're doing out in the world, because it is an inspiration and gets me motivated on this phone call. And I'll be thinking about this conversation for days and weeks to come, for sure.
You buy my book online on my website rather than Amazon, as that thing that's on the website is donated.
Oh, good. It is donated, right? So I put your website up here, right? So this is your website, and Jennifer's running the ticker across the bottom. So thanks for putting that up, Jennifer. So today is the day you become unstoppable. How awesome is that? Gigi, can you say the name of your book, please?
Unstoppable. Surviving is just the beginning.
Yep, love it. And you can get Gigi's book right here. And Gigi's also a life coach, and like we said, owns RV dealership and has a lot of great employees and is doing a wonderful job. And Miles, I know you have a bunch of follow-up questions. I'll give you one follow-up questions, and then we got to go, because I don't want to cut anybody short. So let's do it. Let's go for another few minutes here.
Well, you had one ticker, Dave, that had listed. It was like mom, entrepreneur, author, right? Yeah. So of all of those, Gigi, what's your favorite descriptor?
Oh, what a question.
The horses.
Yeah, you do love the horses.
And my son, of course. So those but I guess having solutions is really what, that's when my staff comes in, they used to, when they first start working for me, if we hire somebody new or something, they'll come in, Gigi, we have a problem. Said, out. You only come back with a solution. And when we had our $11 million board up there, the debt or whatever, and I would have all these phone calls and creditors, and that I do, business coaching as well to, teach how to get $11.5 million out of debt or whatever you are. I have tricks of the trade. But we used to have our board, our whiteboard, and we would write down, the problems of the day, whatever, which I don't really associate that word as a real word. And then we have the solution side, and it was always the solution. So I said, no, turn it around the other way. So the solutions were first, because the solutions were to what you thought were a problem.
Right.
So we had solutions on, the correct side of the board of what, the problem could have been. So my staff never, ever, nobody comes in to see me ever with starting off a sentence with a problem. They start off a sentence. So the solution is that, that our IT, whatever, they weren't collaborating, but I did this, and this. So if there's a solution, just fix it. But anyway, that's kind of the mentality.
I like that. I like the idea. Come into my office, tell me the solution, then tell me the problem.
Yeah.
You know, there was we did it. We did a lot of entree leadership, servant leadership. You know, in my time, and it was always funny. You mentioned about walking in the office, and we used to always say, you know, somebody'd walk in and put a monkey on your desk, and now it's your monkey, and you got to take care of this monkey. And I don't want that monkey on my desk, so you can take your monkey back, put a solution on my desk, you know, and maybe it's feeding the monkey bananas. Whatever the case is, keep your monkey. You know, and that was, we always had that conversation. That was a Dave Ramsey thing. But yeah, I do like the idea. Tell me the solution. If you're going to walk in with a problem, tell me what you think the solution is, and then I'll help you.
Positive thinking. It's positive thinking is really the metaphor for that, because people really can solve problems. They just don't. They find like how people misery loves company and stuff like that, and I don't have any of that around me. Like that's not, you know, that doesn't work here. So, you know, if you have cancer, the doctor just tells you, you know, you've got stage 4 cancer, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You have a scratch, or your computer crashed, or this or that, or your car's not starting, or this, whatever.
That sucks, but it's not a big problem.
Yeah. Cancer is a real problem. You know, that's a problem, you know. You know, people dying of cancer and things like that, and, you know, COVID, that's a problem.
Right. I agree.
You know, so everything else is just, you know, just another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Hey, listen, I love it, Gigi. I'm so grateful that we met, and I'm sure we're going to continue our conversation. And Gigi's been helping us on our journey, and I look forward to continuing helping.
Because you're an RV Advisor member.
That's right. And we are an RV Advisor member and a supporter of Gigi and her mission to do it better, to do it right. And most of all, just be kind to people and do the right thing. And I think all those life lessons are things that we should all learn. And also, she's increasing her influence by doing these things and surrounding herself by people that are helping her tell that message. So I love it. Thank you, Gigi.
You know, thank you guys for having me.
All right, Miles. Awesome. TED Talker. Top 5 podcast.
That's my next mission.
Yeah,
I need my TED Talk. That's my next mission.
Enough to talk about for sure. You could.
Yeah, you got a great story for a TED Talk. Yeah. Man. Well, hey, listen, Gigi, don't go anywhere. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, so Miles can tell you how he got his TED Talk after the show here. So we'll do our outro. We'll come right back to this. So if you have a few minutes, stick around.
I just need to catch up. Can I get like 10 minutes? My phone's blowing up.
Go. And we'll catch up. We'll catch up this afternoon.
Yeah. Let's do that, because you got to talk to me anyway. So maybe we'll do another quick Zoom or something. Perfect.
We'll do that. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Why Twitch, Miles?
That's where the young kids are.
That's where the young people are. And we need more young people in our business that are passionate about what we do. So we are there. And Miles, last week we had several people from Twitch. And guess what, Miles? Greg Ugaldi is on Twitch now as well.
Wow, look at that.
The immediate past chairman of the National Association of Home Builders went to Twitch, and he follows us on Twitch. So that's kind of cool.
I'm falling behind. I think I need to look that up.
You got to check out Twitch. That's where all the gamers are and where they're playing. So we figured, you know what? We're not getting enough young people. Let's go to them.
Oh, that's my son. I'll have to ask him then.
That's the way to do it. So, all right, everybody, you have a wonderful day. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please, if you're not following RV Advisors, if you have an RV or you're looking for an RV, please give Gigi a call. Or if you just want a life coach or somebody to help you get through some hard times, because we all go through them at some point, some harder than others. She's a big inspiration, and you can tell she's very passionate. So thanks, Gigi. Miles, we will see everybody tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Building Science with Mark Bare Naked Willie. Do not miss it. We are talking about step codes, BC step codes. Be there, 1 p.m. Bye, everybody.
Bye.